Hi, I'm Karlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Karlin Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, karlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Hey guys, happy what day is it today? Thursday, I think. Sorry that I was off yesterday. I really was not feeling well at all, and I basically just spent a lot of time sleeping. To be honest with you, I don't actually feel that much better today, but the show must go on, and we definitely have some things to talk about. And I gotta tell you guys, it's like one of those days where like I'm feeling really emotional and defeated. And feeling like and I'll tell you why, because last night on my Substack I posted this article. Why Matt Walsh will never beat the woke left. And I think that this is actually one of the more on the nose things that I've written probably in several months, and I knew exactly what was going to happen when I posted this article. Was that I would get a lot of people commenting who didn't bother to read the article, who were just reading and complaining, who would say, "You're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're a leftist. Is that you in the picture? You're fat, you're ugly," etc., etc., etc. Because that's what happens every time. Every single time I show you exactly who your heroes are, that is the response from the conservative right. And you know, and when I wasn't getting that response, I've actually spent the vast majority of my day today trying to deal with conservatives who they read the article and they go, "Yeah, Karlin, you're probably right, but you know what Matt is doing is good enough." It's good enough. And sometimes you just can't let perfection get in the way of good enough. And in Florida, we are doing everything that we can to get it out of schools. And I'm like, I can go to any school district in Florida and show you exactly how they're still teaching this stuff in schools. And they're like, no, but we're taking over the school boards. Don't you understand? I'm like, well, do you understand that school boards don't actually control the decisions that you're trying to influence? In fact, it's funny. I got an email from a conservative mom in response to this article, and she didn't think I was going to read it or get it. But I did, because I get all the email in all the places. And she wrote to me that she had actually gotten elected to her town school board, and she was told by all the good conservative pundits that this is what she needed to do. She needed to get elected to the school board, and if they just took over the school boards, they were going to be able to fix all the problems. And she said, Carlin, when I got elected to the school board, I found out that the school board doesn't actually control any of these problems. And I said, I'm really sorry that you were lied to by your conservative influencers, but I've been literally telling you this for over 2 years. And I felt bad, because it's not as though this information isn't out there, it's that people aren't listening. Like, I've literally been screaming about the school board issue for 2 years. It's not that I think school boards have no values. I suppose they have some symbolic value, but they don't actually influence the things that need fixing. They have no power over the actual problems, which I've been trying to tell people. They don't listen. And so then the next thing I hear is, Carlin, you need to give us a roadmap. You need to give us a roadmap about how we fix things. If you say Matt Walsh isn't good enough, then you need to give us a roadmap. And that's the thing I've heard most today. I've had probably, I don't know, like at least a dozen conservatives come into my feed on Instagram, on Twitter, on even on the Substack, saying, Carlin, why aren't you giving us a roadmap? And that's the part where I really start to lose it. That's the part where I really start to lose it. Because I've been giving you a roadmap for over 2 years. Well over 2 years. I literally wrote a book outlining a roadmap. Almost every single day, I am publishing content, the vast majority of which against my better judgment, because I said I was going to stop doing this and I didn't, because I didn't. The vast majority of my content on my Substack is free. Almost every single day of the week, I am publishing new things that lay out explicitly what needs to be done. I have a free podcast that has, almost like 50 episodes detailing what you need to do to fight back. I have paid resources that you can avail yourselves of. I have quite literally 2,000 videos on this YouTube channel that are free, that people can avail themselves of. If none of that's good enough, if the book that I wrote isn't good enough, if the free articles and the majority of my Substack articles are free, again, against my better judgment, I really should change that. If my free articles on the Substack aren't good enough, if the thousands of YouTube videos aren't good enough, if the ridiculous amounts of tweets that you can find on my timeline at any given time aren't good enough, you can even pay me. Like, there are paid resources that are available. If none of that is good enough, you can come to my community calls that I do several times a week. You can ask me questions. You can get into my supporter Discord. You can ask questions there. And we're not talking about breaking the bank. We're talking about like $5 a month. And so if none of these resources that I have killed myself to give you are good enough, I just don't know what to say. I truly don't know what to say anymore. And it is and like I feel it's very important for people to understand what it's like on this side of the screen, which is why I talk about how difficult all this is. I am to the point where I am working myself to a point where I am making myself physically sick, as evidenced yesterday when I needed to sleep all day and like am not even feeling better today. And it's just like, how much do people want? How much of a roadmap do you need? How, like, what is it actually going to take to get people to listen? The vast majority of people who've given me feedback on this article didn't even read it. I just got another comment on it. Well, Carlin, you're just expecting too much from us. Oh, am I? Am I really? Am I really? And people wonder why I reach the point of saying, you know what? Y'all deserve to have your kids transed. You do. You were given everything on it. Listen, guys, when I started doing this stuff, there was no roadmap to figure it out. There really wasn't. How I learned all of this, how I learned everything that I know, everything that I have like been trying to download out of my brain and to you for well, I mean, like I don't really count 2020 because I was doing something different in 2020, but like for the last over 2 years, I learned everything I know by trial and error and research and diving deep into things, and I've read more of this material than than a sane person should reasonably have to read, and it's all available publicly. It's all available publicly, and I'm doing my very best to get as much of it into people's hands in plain English, deciphering all of it to you guys as I can. But I can't do this for you. No one can do this for you. If you are not going to take responsibility for what you are doing and how you're showing up and what resources you are availing yourself of that have already, and by the way, if you don't like my resources, I'm not even the only one creating them. There are other people that are doing this stuff. Now, we might have different styles. We might have different approaches. We might have different perspectives. There might, if you decide that you can't learn from me because the mean woman on the internet is just too mean and she's too much of a bitch and I don't like her tone and she has stupid hair and she's just way too fat for me to ever learn from, then go learn from someone else. But can we stop pretending that these resources do not exist? Because they do exist. They exist all over the internet. They exist in a myriad of different formats. They exist with a dozen people that are really hinged into this. Now, not everyone teaching this stuff knows what they're talking about, as evidenced by what we're going to watch with Matt Walsh today, or what I'm going to lay out for you in regards to him today. Matt Walsh doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And people say, but he brings awareness. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Because he doesn't know what he's talking about, which I'm going to explain. But there are at least a dozen people that I can think of off the top of my head that are not me, that are really hinged into this stuff and are doing a really good job of teaching people about it. Again, we might have different approaches, we might have different perspectives, we might have different ways that we go about teaching people, but again, don't pretend these aren't there. Don't pretend you can't go somewhere else and find them. Don't pretend this stuff doesn't exist. I am truly begging people to start listening. Stop fighting. Stop engaging in outrage porn. Stop trying to own the libs. Mouth shut, ears open. Start listening. Autumn, I'm not doing the bullshit today. If Autumn keeps distracting people in the chat, this is going to be the day that Autumn gets banned. I'm serious about this. No one controls what type of content you consume and how you consume it except for you. And I'm at the point where my patience with this is like that. Because I am tired, guys. I am tired. I am tired of saying the same thing every single day for years and having people not listen and then complain about what they don't understand and then complain that they aren't making any progress and then complain that the results aren't what they want to be when they didn't listen in the first place and then come to me and say, Carlin, you need to give us a roadmap. I gave you a fucking roadmap. I did. You didn't listen. So, today we're going to talk about every single thing that I think Matt Walsh is getting really, really wrong. And I'm happy to answer good faith questions if I see any amount of complaining or crying or whining. I'm not going to deal with it at all. This is where people need to put on their big boy and girl pants. This is where people need to stop acting like outrage junkies on the internet and actually pay attention to what is going on. There is a reality that exists that people who are not online are hinged into. That is what we need to grapple with. And that is not being grappled with by your conservative pundits online who are not even aware of the basis of the problems that they claim to be experts in to their audience. And then they're teaching their massive audiences all these things that are not true. And it is near damn impossible to unteach people the things that people like Matt Walsh have taught them. No one can do this except for you guys. I just don't know how to say it any better. So we're going to read this here article and we're going to talk about it. And I've got some other stuff that I want to show you as well. And I know that this isn't going to be like the most happy, cheery stream in all of streams. And I'm sorry about that, guys. I am emotionally and physically exhausted. I just am. So I'm doing the best I can. But I do want to let people know and just remind people that if you are a member of my supporter community, which you can become a member of by heading over and becoming a member of the Substack at $5 a month, $50 a year. You can also join my locals community or my Patreon community. One of the perks you get is access to the supporter Discord. And even though I might be in a pissy mood right now, I hope that I will be able to excise that from my system because we've got something really, really special going on in my supporter Discord tonight. Every Thursday night, there is a writers group that meets in my supporter Discord. Now, I usually don't go just because I'm doing other things, but it is expertly run by volunteers in my community because I happen to have a lot of creatives in my community, and I think it's wonderful, and I love that they get together and they talk about writing, and they do writing exercises, and they help each other, and they support each other, and they have, brainstorms and things like that. And one of the members of the writers group is publishing her first book. And this is a big deal. And Jennifer does so much for our community. Jennifer is the host of movie nights on Sundays. Jennifer is one of the instigators behind the writers group. And I'm really, really so proud of her. And there's going to be a launch party for her book tonight starting at 6 p.m., but it should go pretty late in the night, talking about like just, she's going to be reading passages from her book, which is a little bit saucy. Jennifer writes like 50 Shades of Grey style stuff. But her stuff is like way better than 50 Shades of Grey. But that's kind of like, that's the genre. And you know what? God love her for it. I love it. I think it's great. And so she is publishing her first book. It is the first in his series of 3 that she's written. I got to tell you guys, I've only written 2 books. I cannot imagine writing 3 books at once that you're releasing basically back to back to back. It is a Herculean effort. And so we're going to be celebrating Jennifer tonight in the supporter Discord. So come and join us if you're a member. And you can get access by becoming a member of the Substack, becoming a member of Locals, etc., etc., etc. And that'll be really great. And of course, we also do movie nights in the supporter Discord. We do movie nights on Sundays at 8 p.m. We are watching Minority Report this week, and we're going to have a great time with that. And Kino is heading to the airport. See you soon at PorkFest. Yes, guys, just so you know, programming note, I will be out all next week at PorkFest from Monday through Sunday. So I don't plan on streaming a lot next week. I certainly will not have my normal streaming schedule because I'm going to be gallivanting around in the woods because I need a vacation. Vacation. Now, that's not to say I won't do a stream here or there if the internet allows. We're going to have to see how that goes. But I will not be doing my normal streaming schedule next week because we're going to be at PorkFest and there's going to be great. There will be Zoom calls, but I will not be leading the Zoom calls. Tori and Joshua will be leading the Zoom calls. So we will still be doing those. I just won't be there because, again, woods, substances, fun, vacation. But the Zoom calls will still be happening. All right, guys, let me see. Please mount that like button for me if you would be so kind. I want to read my article, and I want to answer any questions that you might have about why Matt Walsh will never, ever, ever beat the left. And really, this article is about more than Matt Walsh, but Matt Walsh just provided the amazing inspiration for it, just perfectly. And he is one of the leading figures on the right that gets a lot of this stuff wrong, and so he is the one I chose to make an example of. To understand why the political left always seems to win, well, the political right always seems to be on the back foot, no matter how many crazy things the left does. You must understand the difference between how the right and the left fight. The left focuses on implementing laws and policies that formalize their crazy ideas in the institutions. To do that, they do this mostly without the political right knowing what's going on until the law or policy is already adopted and formalized. This is a really key point for people to understand, okay? I think that because of the history of fiery but mostly peaceful protests, people on the right have gotten the mistaken impression that how the left wins is by screaming and crying and setting fire to things and looting stores and running around in mobs, making people raise their hands in a Black Lives Matter fist. They really think that what they see on TikTok and what they see on Tim Pool or on the Daily Wire of leftists acting crazy is how the left wins. And so the right has gotten this mistaken impression that what they need to do to win is to act equally crazy to the left because that's how the left won. And so it should work for us too, right? That's not how the left wins. The left wins by gaining power to take over institutions. They've been doing that for a really long time. It is not an accident that the left controls everything. They control academia. They control the K through 12 schools. They control the government. They control the media. They control Hollywood. They control corporate America. They control all the big, like BlackRock and all those things that you guys are freaking out about. They control like all these globalist organizations that you guys are freaking out about. They literally control everything because they worked for decades to get themselves into positions of power. And then what they do in those positions of power is they implement laws and policies, oftentimes before you are even aware of what is going on. So, for example, and where we're going to spend most of our time focused, they will implement policies within your school district. Okay? The woke left controls K through 12 schools. They control the administration of those schools. They control the teaching pool in those schools. And it doesn't matter if conservatives control the school board or not, because school boards do not make decisions about administration policies, and they don't make decisions about curriculum. There are some exceptions to this. It depends mostly on what state you're in, but as a general rule, school boards do not have power to control the policies that administrators within the schools create. They have the power to fire the principal, but that doesn't mean they control the policies that the administrators create. And they don't, unless you live in Vermont or Connecticut, school boards do not have power over curriculum. And even if they do, here's how the teachers teach it. They print a worksheet off the internet that is not part of any official curriculum, because most schools don't even have official curriculum. It's all decided by the teacher. And then they shut the classroom door, and you don't know what goes on inside that classroom once that classroom door shuts. That's how they do it. We're getting like, this is reality, guys. You can talk about what books they're buying all you want. It doesn't mean they're using those books. Because any teacher today can print off anything they want on the internet, and they can use that. And I'll even show you another thing. Hang on. I wasn't even planning on showing this to you today, but this is literally sitting on the floor by my desk. They can also buy things like this off the internet. This is a social justice teacher planner book that I bought for $8 off the internet. Anyone can go on the internet and buy this. It has all the different social justice dates. It has all the different social justice resources. Any teacher can go and buy this right now. You don't need the school. This costs like $8. I'm not exaggerating on that. This was not that expensive. So, you might think that the left gains control over things by complaining and screaming and crying and setting fires to things, but that's not what they're doing. They are quietly implementing policies within, in this case, we're focusing on the schools, but they do this in every other area too, within the school district that you don't even know about until after they have already implemented and formalized the policy. That is how the left fights. That is how the left wins. They do it quietly. They aren't screaming it. It's not shouting your abortion. That's only the distraction, okay? They do it quietly. Now, while the left is doing that, the right, mistakenly believing that the people controlling the left are the ones screaming and acting crazy that they see on TikTok, are then reacting to those people on TikTok and whatever they do. And they are taking those people on TikTok or wherever else they're acting crazy, and they're trying to use them as examples to own the libs, to show everyone, look how crazy the left is. They're doing crazy things on TikTok. Look how crazy the left is. They're doing crazy things on TikTok. The right believes that in owning the libs, they will appeal to independents and to centrists. However, there's a couple problems with that. Number one, and I didn't write this in the article, but I'll say it here. The fact that the right is continuing to go after normal gay and trans people. No, we're not talking about queer activists. We're talking about they want to get rid of all gay and trans people. They want to get rid of gay marriage. They want to eradicate transgenderism from public life. That's quoting Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire. It's not theoretical. That's what he said at CPAC. The fact that the right continues to do that pisses off independents and centrists so much that no matter what crazy shit the right shows that the left is doing, independents and centrists aren't going to vote for them because they're making themselves look like raging homophobes. And no one's going to vote for that. And I'm going to prove that in a little bit. We're going to talk about the so-called rise of social conservatism, which is a lie, and I'm going to explain why that's a lie. So that's mistake number one that the right makes. They really think that showing the left acting crazy is enough to get people on their side, especially when they're acting like raging gay hating idiots, and it's not, okay? However, there's another thing the right does, or should I say, doesn't do. Because in all the time that they spend owning the libs, what they don't do is go back and undo the policies that the left has implemented. So the policies are still there. And remember, the policies are how the left fights. The policies are still there. The policies remain on the books. And with rare exception, because they do it every once in a while, but they don't do it with any large scale focus. The policies remain and continue to be implemented because the same people who implemented the policies largely remain in control of the institutions. For all of the blustering that the right has done about school boards, how many principals have been fired? There have been a couple. I'm not going to say it's been a complete and total failure. How many superintendents have been fired? How many principals have been fired? Can you guys name any off the top of your heads? And I'm not suggesting firing the superintendent or the principal would be the end all be all, because it wouldn't be. But they're in the very few school boards that they've taken over, they haven't fired the administrators that are responsible for the policies. They haven't undone the policies that are causing the problems in the first place. But they're running around and raising money for Moms for Liberty saying, we took over the school board, but they aren't actually changing the things that are required to undo the damage that the left already did. This pattern repeats itself over and over and over again, with the left gaining more power over the institutions each time because mostly the right's tactics are not effective in reversing the policies that the left implemented. And I say mostly because the right does get wins here and there, but oftentimes even their wins don't go far enough to undo the damage the left already did by formalizing their positions into policies in the first place. The reason it works out this way is that the left and the right have fundamentally different values. I didn't write this in the article, but I probably should have. And regular viewers of my channel will have heard me say this over and over and over again. Every single time the right goes, leftists are mentally ill. They're all insane. They're stupid. They're mentally ill. Every single time the right does that, they dismiss what is actually going on. The left is not mentally ill. The left are not made up of stupid people. If they were stupid, they wouldn't be winning so badly. And yeah, Farron's making a great point. Every time you guys say something to the effect of, they're all mentally ill, the centrists and the independents whose votes you need, they go, what the hell are you talking about? So, the left and the right have fundamentally different values. They have fundamentally different ways they see the world. They have fundamentally different priorities. The left values power and control above all else. There is nothing that the left places a higher premium on than power. And that includes both what the MBA textbooks are going to call legitimate power, which is you get promoted into a position, you get elected to a position, it's like an official position of power. It also includes what the MBA textbooks call illegitimate power, which is actually, it's funny they call it illegitimate power because it's actually much more effective than so-called legitimate power, and that's the soft power. That's things like maybe you don't have an official position, but you have influence over something. The soft power of influence is actually much more effective. And because oftentimes people are so afraid of what the left is doing and the potential of being canceled and the potential of being called a transphobe or any of these things, that is the soft power of influence. So the left is winning on both fronts. They have institutional power, legitimate power. They also have the soft power of influence, okay? The right, on the other hand, values image and brand above all else. And this is driven primarily by the Christian conservative wing of the right. I got to tell you guys, the first CPAC I ever went to, I have been to hundreds of events. I've been to hundreds of conferences. I've been to big events. I've been to small events. I've spoken at big events. I've spoken at small events. I had never been to an event like CPAC in which every single person was dressed. There are two people. There are two types of people that go to CPAC. There are the MAGA people, and then there are like the Christians. Okay, sometimes those overlap, but usually not. There is a vibe and an energy among the elitist of the elite at CPAC that is really weird and really off-putting to people who are not in that community. And it's all around this brand and image where you have to be dressed exactly the right way in order to be accepted. And exactly the right way is women have to wear dresses, or like, you can wear a nice pantsuit or something. They've got to be tight. They've got to be a bright color. They all have to have the long hair done perfectly, the makeup done perfectly, perfect push-up bra, all that good stuff. You know very clearly just by looking at someone at CPAC, are they in the club or are they not in the club? And again, there are MAGA people that go to CPAC too and those sorts of things, and they look completely different. You want to know why? Because they're not in the club. They think they're in the club, but they're not really in the club. Okay? This focus on brand and image above all else inhibits the right from gaining the type of influence that they need in order to win, because the brand and image that is important to people on the right is completely unimportant to most normal people in the world. And in fact, it's really off-putting to most normal people in the world. It does not come across as authentic. It does not come across as warm. It does not come across as caring. It does not come across as someone that you trust. It comes across as used car salesman or television evangelist. Now, I'm not suggesting that the right needs to change who they are. If they want to be perceived as a television evangelist, that is their effing business. But what I'm telling you is that if you want to beat the left, then you need to start acting like normal goddamn people. And you need to start meeting people where they are. Yes, exactly, Reagan. It is plastic and it is fake. And it's like one of those things that, like, when you're not being plastic and fake, you can sniff out plastic and fake so easily. And it's like you're always waiting for, like, what do you want from me? What do you want me to buy from you? You're trying to sell me something, right? And it's not something that they're Stepford people. That everyday therapist, exactly. They're Stepford people. Moving on. The left worships activists, people who are implementing laws and policies that make change. This is something the right does not understand. This became very clear to me when I was on Good Logic's show, and he said, well, they worship people like Rachel Maddow. No, they don't. No, they don't. Now, I'm not saying they won't use Rachel Maddow for what she's useful for. And occasionally she is useful for things, like they'll have her keynote an event here and there. But the fact of the matter is that I heard more about Rachel Maddow from the right than I ever did when I was on the left. And I watched Rachel Maddow. I did, because I liked the way Rachel Maddow presented information. And so I would watch her to learn how to present information. But, like, people on the left are not remotely as obsessed with someone like Rachel Maddow as people on the right are. Like, the right is unhinged about it. It's and again, this is another thing that's really off-putting. And by the way, when the right calls every woman with short hair and glasses Rachel Madcow, that's really off-putting too. It doesn't make people want to vote for you guys. No, this is not correct. The left does not worship Nancy Pelosi. A lot of people on the left, this is what the right doesn't understand. Nope. Wrong. People on the left don't even like Nancy Pelosi, and they don't like AOC. They don't like them. They think they are too corporate and centrist. So you're going to say, but they're raising all this money. Well, because they're in a position of power. But that doesn't mean they idolize them. It doesn't mean they like them. It doesn't mean they, if Nancy Pelosi and AOC went away tomorrow, they wouldn't care. They really wouldn't. Well, no, Chad, your view is skewed because you're not listening to people on the left. You're listening to people on the right. You're listening to people on the right pretend they know what they're talking about when they say what the left likes. The left does not like AOC and Nancy Pelosi. They, like, what I see when I'm around leftists is they know the names of all the activists. People on the right don't even know who the real activists are. People on the right think Matt Walsh is a real activist. No, he's not. There are dozens of people that are doing boot on the ground work that you have never heard of before. The right doesn't know who their own activists are, but the left does. Do you know who keynotes the real conferences, the real ones that the leftists really go to? It's not the celebrities, it's the activists. And by the way, guys, you have never heard of the names of the leftist activists, unless you watch this channel. Then you may have heard of some of them. Maybe a couple other places are reporting on it too. But for the most part, you don't know who the real activists are on the left. They're not AOC. They're not Nancy Pelosi. So the left worships activists. Who does the right worship? The right worships people who say the words that the right wants them to say to maintain the image, the brand, the facade, darling. Do you guys see the difference in values? One group prioritizes people who are doing things, and the other group prioritizes people with the right image. Our last difference that we're going to talk about for right now. The left is proactive. They're constantly working, strategizing, planning on how to move the needle towards their goals, which are established and understood. There's no confusion about what the left wants and what the left stands for people who are actually on the left. They know what they're doing. And they're constantly doing anything they can to move the needle, even if they're just moving the needle a little bit. The right, on the other hand, first of all, the right doesn't even know what they're doing. There's no forward-looking plan. There's no vision. I've been screaming about this for 3 years. Even when I left the left and people were like, "Oh, Carlin, you're becoming a conservative now." I was like, "No, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they want. I have absolutely no idea what conservatives want." And they're like, but like we're not Democrats. And I'm like, well, that's nice that you're not Democrats. I appreciate that you're not Democrats. What do you want? Like, what are you trying to build? The GOP has not updated their party platform since 2012. They still have opposition to gay marriage in their official party platform because they refuse to update it. The only talking point the right has is we're not the left. So what am I voting for? I'm either voting for Democrats who I think are crazy, or I'm voting for not Democrats who I don't even know what they stand for. So is this all starting to make sense? Okay. The problem with being a reactive force that values owning the libs above all else is that you're not actually solving the problems the libs are causing. And the libs don't care if you make them look ridiculous. The libs don't care if you show their crazy TikTok videos. They don't care if you make their activists look crazy. They don't care. Because at the end of the day, you are still implementing their policies, and their policies are the things they care about. And here's where Matt Walsh comes in. Matt Walsh is undoubtedly the conservative darling. Matt Walsh says all the right words that conservatives love to hear. He has a pretty blonde wife that stays home and raises the kids. He claims to be religious, oozing Christ's beautiful, perfect love every time he calls Dylan Mulvaney an ugly man. Exactly what Jesus would do, I'm sure. He produced and starred in a documentary that expertly owned the libs. He is everything we can expect from the perfect conservative. And because of all those things, Matt Walsh is leading conservatives right off a cliff, and they don't even realize it. Let me show you how this plays out in a land where we are hinged into reality. So this is something that Matt Walsh tweeted yesterday. Matt Walsh tweeted yesterday, "Social conservatism is ascendant. Brands that push the LGBT agenda are suffering massive losses. Many states have passed laws banning the mutilation of kids. Gender clinics are being shut down. High school kids are pushing back on pride indoctrination in their schools. We are gaining ground. We're starting to win. New leaders have risen on the right, and they're winning battles the old guard surrendered years ago. There is still much to do, but reason for hope, and it's important that we recognize that." I remember when I was on Good Logic's channel, and he said to me, you guys got to understand, I haven't come this close to someone with that type of mindset in probably at least a year. And he actually said to me, Well, we're winning, and I think we've turned the corner. And those of you who watched that stream saw my reaction when he said we're winning on the LGBT question, and we've really turned a corner. I burst out laughing, and I said, that was the moment where I was like, "You have no idea what you're talking about. You truly like it is. It is for people who are paying attention. It is laughable." To think that the right is winning on the LGBT question. I mean, like, even right, like, it was shocking when he said that. And it was just like, what the hell? But that's what the right wants to hear. And when Matt Walsh tweeted this yesterday, they're winning, they're winning. The right rejoiced. Yes, Matt said the magic words. He said the magic words that we were all so hoping he would say. We're winning. Except that Matt is lying about that. And we're going to break down every single point in this tweet. Tim Pool said today that school doesn't matter because no, he didn't. No, Daniel, tell me you're lying. He did not say that out loud. Oh my God. All right. That's a different problem for a different day. But what we're going to do now, guys, is I'm going to break down every single component of what Matt Walsh tweeted here. And we're just going to have a moment where we hinge ourselves back into reality. Oh, he did say that. Oh, isn't that nice of him? Oh, wow. Wow. Let's worry about Tim Pool being an idiot another day, all right? So grab yourself a beverage and a snack because we're going to be here for a minute, all right? First thing said, Matt Walsh said social conservatism is ascendant. Here is the reality. Now, I know where he's getting this from, and I'll show you where he's getting this from. There was a poll that came out not too long ago that said that this year, more Americans are very conservative or conservative on social issues than in 2022 or in 2021. So, what they're getting is that 38% of Americans are either very conservative or conservative on social issues compared to 33% in 2022 and 30% in 2021. That's why Matt Walsh is saying social conservatism is growing. However, the devil is in the details. And I have the link to the poll. If you want to go read the article and read the data for yourself, you are welcome to go and do it. While it is true that more Americans consider themselves to be socially conservative today than a year ago, the total percentage of Americans who consider themselves to be socially conservative is still less than 40%, which is far below what is required to actually win elections. Guys, if you are not getting people to vote for you, then you are not winning. And saying that less than 40% is enough to get people to vote for you is not hinged into reality, but it gets better. At most of the increase is from people who are already voting Republican. So we're not talking here about independents and, God forbid, Democrats becoming more socially conservative. The vast majority of the increase is in people who are already voting Republican. Bonnie said, I owe you a penny. I was wrong about Project Veritas versus OMG. Bonnie, why do you say that? I'm just curious. I mean, thank you for the Carlin is right super chat, but like, why do you say that? I'd like more information. So, and the reason I say that is this. Where is it in the article? Republicans show one of the largest increases from 60% in 2021 to 74% today. Independents show a modest uptick of 5 percentage points to 29%, And Democrats, there is no change in Democrats. So what this means is that the increase in social conservatism is coming from people who were already voting Republican. All right? So essentially what's happened is Republicans have become more socially conservative. There has been a slight increase in independents becoming more socially conservative, but it's still less than 30%. And of course, Democrats are not becoming socially conservative at all. They stayed the same at 10%, right? So what we're talking about here is a massive amount of Republicans became more socially conservative and no votes were changed. Exactly, no votes were changed in this shift towards social conservatism because the majority of people who became more socially conservative were already voting Republican anyway. Matt is not being honest with his audience about this. Then Matt said, brands that push the LGBT agenda are suffering massive losses. Well, are they really? Are they really? Indeed, two brands pushing the queer activist agenda, and it's not accurate to say LGBT agenda because the agenda is coming from far left queer activists, not regular LGBT people, have suffered massive losses. Bud Light and Target. Although I'm going to say this, I expect that Target is going to fully rebound after Pride Month. I could be wrong about that. But it's a lot easier to give up Bud Light than it is to give up Target. And so I think we're going to see Target come back. They may suffer a little bit of a loss, but it's going to be like a temporary dip and come back up, is my prediction. I could be wrong. Bud Light, I think, is pretty screwed, to be honest with you, because it's like, it's one of those things. Again, Bud Light was always a shitty product. Like, people shouldn't be drinking Bud Light in the first place because it's just bad. It's a bad beer. And so I don't think they're going to come back, but people actually like Target, I think. Anyway, so Bud Light and Target have suffered losses. That's true. But you're going to tell me that any organization supporting the LGBT agenda, which really you should be calling the queer activist agenda, but let's use his language, is suffering massive losses? Really, Matt? Really? Well, let's take a look at Glisten's website. This is a screenshot from Glisten. Glisten, of course, is our favorite far left activist organization that's pushing queer Marxist content into schools. And this is a list of Glisten's corporate sponsors. Bonnie says, once Project Veritas hired Hannah as CEO, I knew it was game over for James. Hannah put James on the map, mea culpa. Hannah's going to be great at that. She is. We'll have that chat another day, Bonnie, but I appreciate it. So where's the protest against Hollister? Because Hollister is actually funding Glisten more than Target is. I mean, conservatives were already pissed off at Disney, but Disney's doing fine. Wells Fargo, are we protesting Wells Fargo now? How about PetSmart? How about Gucci? How about YouTube, New Balance, State Farm, McDonald's? Are conservatives protesting McDonald's? Amazon. Do we have any people giving up their Amazon Prime accounts? Hulu, Urban Outfitters, etc., etc., etc. And these are just the people literally advertised on Glisten's website for funding one activist organization. My point is this. There is no backlash against the majority of these brands. There's still millions of dollars flowing from their profits into after-school programs that are training your children to be the next generation of queer activists. The difference between Bud Light and Target is that conservative influencers like Matt Walsh have decided that these would be the organizations targeted, no pun intended, with their outrage campaign, not because it would solve the problem, because they don't actually want to solve the problem, but because it would get the most clicks on their content from targeting them. And Matt is not being honest with his audience about this. Farron says Corporate Equity Index, funded by Human Rights Campaign, largest lobbying group for LGBT, gives these companies more than what they lost in boycotts. That is a really great point, Farron. So that's how effective the massive boycotts are that Matt is saying as evidence that they're winning. Moving on. Many states have passed laws banning the mutilation of kids. Gender clinics are being shut down. Reality. It is true that some states have passed laws banning trans medical intervention in minors. And indeed, this is good. I don't want to shit on this. This is a good thing. It is also true that some gender clinics are shutting down, although they do tend to reopen later when the media commotion has died down. So what happens with these gender clinics, guys, is like conservative influencers spin up an outrage mob, and then the gender clinic shuts down for a little while, and then later on, when the conservative influencers have moved on to a new point, the gender clinic quietly reopens again and keeps going. And no one reports on it. No one follows up on it. That tends to be what happens. Number two, I realized something the other day. The side that says you don't have right to not be offended now want to be free from being offended. Ain't that the truth? Ain't it the truth? However, Matt again fails to tell his audience the bigger picture, likely because he himself does not understand the bigger picture. Okay, this is going to be the media section of this discussion. And at the end of the stream, I'm not going to do it now, but at the end of the stream, I have a video queued up called Trans Activists Want to Eliminate Gender, a Socialism Saturday highlight reel. This is about a 20-minute stream that we're going to watch at the end that is going to back up every single thing I'm about to tell you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through this. I'm going to explain it. We're going to get through the end of the article. And then if you want to stick around and watch the receipts of one example of where this is coming from, I will show it to you at the end and we'll talk about it. I just don't want to disrupt. It's like a 20-minute thing. And so I don't want to disrupt it here. We'll do it at the end for people who are interested. The too long didn't read is this, and this is something that people really need to wrap their heads around. And I understand that this is complicated, okay? And I understand that what I'm about to tell you will go against everything that you have heard from like every other influencer out there, okay? Trans medicalization of minors is a symptom of the problem. It is not the root cause of the problem. It is a symptom. It is the outcome. The bills and the closures of the clinic solve for the outcome of the problem. They don't solve the problem itself. So it's kind of like if you have a cold and you cough a lot because you have a cold, the cough is the symptom of the problem, which is the cold. You can take cough syrup or a cough drop or something like that, and that will alleviate the symptom of the problem, but it's not going to solve the problem. It just alleviates the symptom. Do people understand the difference? Okay? This is really important because I know it seems like trans medicalization of minors is the problem, but it's not. There are many things that led to the trans medicalization of the minors. On several occasions, I've explained that one of the ultimate goals of queer activism is to destabilize the system by disrupting the norm. And one of the norms they wish to disrupt more than any other is the gender binary. And it just occurred to me that I may not be live on Rockfin right now. I'm not. There we go. Now I'm live on Rockfin. Hi, Rockfin. Sorry to be late. So one of the major things that they want to disrupt is the gender binary. The woke left literally wants to abolish gender and create a world of they, thems. That's the goal. Guess what? Being non-binary does not require medicalization. It simply requires declaring that you're non-binary. In fact, many queer activists don't use the term trans to mean transition anymore. They use it to mean transform. Sometimes they even say transcend. Why are there so many non-binary people all of a sudden? Because being non-binary was always the goal. A political act of asserting complete and total rejection of what they consider to be the social construct of gender. Beth, thank you for the super chat. You'd have to disconnect from the grid and move out to the boonies to boycott all the woke companies. There's no escaping it. That's exactly right, Beth. There is no possible way in which conservatives are going to boycott every single company that is funding this stuff. It is not going to happen. It is just unrealistic. Okay. And if you want more information about that, you can read my article, Why There Are So Many Non-Binary People. I lay it out explicitly. So, we know what they want to do. They are overt about it. They say the quiet part out loud all the time. This is why they transitioned from focusing on gay and lesbian people to queer and trans people, but really non-binary. That's who they want more than anyone else, is the trans, the queer, the gender fluid, the gender queer, the questioning. That is who they're focusing on. That's who they talk about more than anyone else. I've also covered separately from this that queer is a political term. Queer does not have to do with who you sleep with. Queer does not have to do with what's between your legs. Queer is a political term designed to indicate that you are someone who is rebelling against normativity or the norm of society. So, what you need to get from this is that the goal was always to create more non-binary people. They don't want to transition gender. They want to transform gender. Sometimes they even use the word transcend, which is actually more on the nose. Getting people to transition from men to women or women to men does neither of these things. It does not transform gender and it does not transcend gender, but it does make them think about their gender as a fluid concept and a social construct. That's the critical piece. The rejection of biological gender and the gender binary. Farron has a question. There seems to be a rise of many gay people angry about the trans movement, saying it's taking away from everything. What are your thoughts? I mean, I would be pissed too. Like, this is actually something that the Unabomber talked about in his manifesto. We read it the other day. So the Unabomber posited that far left activists, like queer Marxists, try to co-opt like legitimate activist groups on the left. So you have like these gay activists that were gay activists for a really long time, all the way up to the point where gay marriage was legalized. They won. It was a beautiful thing, right? No one, I don't think many people are against that today, except conservatives who are now saying they never should have legalized gay marriage, but that's another problem for another day. So you had like the gay activist movement who just wanted gay marriage legalized and to have equal rights. And then that was co-opted by the queer Marxists and the queer activists. I'd be pissed if I was gay. Be like, what the hell? We got what we wanted. We just wanted to be treated like normal human beings. Right? So I would be angry too. But now you have situations, and I actually saw this on Twitter earlier today, where even like normal gay and trans people are like, F you conservatives, like you're being dicks too. We don't want to work with you either. So the point I want to make with this, guys, is that they were never after the bodies of your kids. They were after their minds. This is the shift that people need to make in their thinking. It was never about transing your kids explicitly. It was about getting to their brains, getting in their heads. If they got the bodies, that was like a bonus, but the bodies were never the primary goal. And you could say, well, what about all the money that these doctors are going to make by transing the kids? I mean, that again is a symptom of the problem. That's not the actual problem. That is a symptom of the problem. Now, those doctors can go to hell. Those doctors are taking advantage of like the system, and it's really gross and it's disgusting so far as I'm concerned. But that's not why they're pushing it. Do you guys see how important it is to like really dig into why they're doing what they're doing? It is not enough to talk about what they're doing. You have to understand why they are doing it. This is why I spent the last 2 years trying to reverse engineer all of this, to explain explicitly why they're doing it, not what, why. Because when you get to the why, that's when you get to the real problem. And if you aren't solving for the real problem, then they're just going to keep creating more and more problems. You might solve for a symptom. Well, guess what? Another symptom's going to pop up. You get that one, another symptom's going to pop up because you never dug the roots out of the ground. You just cut down the branches off the tree. Well, these things grow back. Okay. So, their goal then is to get to the minds of your children. It's to get in their heads. And how are they going to then the question we need to ask is like, how are they going to do this? If the goal is to create non-binary people, to eliminate the gender binary, abolish the gender binary, liberate us from the gender binary, whatever, how are they going to do this? How will they transition all of society from believing that men and women are a biological reality to a world in which everyone believes that an infinite number of genders exist and that our identification with those genders will change over time, and you can be this one day and this the next day? We're all gender fluid, androgynous beings with no stable gender. How are they going to do this? They're going to do it through policy. Because I told you at the beginning, the left fights by implementing policy, not by crying on the internet, not by burning stuff down. They fight by implementing policy. So, for example, what happens when kids spend their entire days in places where they are not using gendered language? How about like this? Ottawa School Board suggests teachers use they, them pronouns for all students starting in September. What happens when a school district quietly implements a policy that says, we're not going to use gendered pronouns with your students anymore? That gets in their heads. That teaches them. Okay? Because if you can't conceive of a term because you don't hear it used often enough, then it's not something that is going to be a reality in your existence, in your experience. The kids are going to believe that it's normal. They are changing normativity. They're changing what that means. And they're doing it by controlling the schools and quietly implementing the policies that are going to drive the public in the direction they want them to go. Thank you, Philosophus, for the super sticker. I do appreciate it. And Canada's not the only place doing this. When I wrote this article last night, I looked up the Parents Defending Ed site, where Parents Defending Ed is actively tracking the school districts across the country who have policies that say that they do not have to tell parents what gender your kids are at school. The last time I looked at this page was a couple months ago, and there were over 6,000 schools that Parents Defending Ed had identified as not telling parents as a matter of school policy what the gender of your child is, what they are using at school for their names and their pronouns. When I checked again last night, they're up to over 17,000 schools. There are over 17,000 schools in the United States right now which have policies on the books that you probably don't even know are there, that says that the school district will not inform the parents of what gender and pronouns the kids are using at school. And I strongly recommend everyone go and check this page out if you've got kids in schools, because they have the list. This is not a comprehensive list. They're going by school district, by school district, by school district all over the country. They're doing a great job. They've got all their policy documents. You can go and find them. See if your school's on the list. There are a lot in New Hampshire. There are a lot in New Hampshire that are on the list. And this is an ongoing research project that Parents Defending Ed is doing. 1,000 school districts they found. Over 17,000 schools. Over 10 million students are impacted by these policies that you don't even know exist. Because that's how the left fights. When precisely do conservatives plan on getting rid of these policies? And how do they plan on doing it? Because school boards aren't going to do it, guys. This is not something that school boards are going to have control over. They're using the policies within the schools to capture the minds of your students, to influence them to see themselves as non-binary, genderqueer, gender fluid, etc. Surgery is not required. Capturing the minds of youth is how you capture society and irrevocably destabilize the system. So Matt Walsh can say all he wants. Look, they can't even define what a woman is. They can't. I asked them what is a woman and they can't answer it. What Matt doesn't understand is that not being able to define what a woman is a feature. It's not a bug. Their not being able to define what a woman is the point. And what's more, none of them care if they can't define it. They don't believe the definition has any value. They want to get rid of the definition entirely. So why would they care if they can't define a woman? They want to abolish women. They want to abolish men. They want to abolish the gender binary. And when these kids grow up, the laws banning the surgery piece will eventually be overturned as well, just because they can. Because when they capture the minds of the kids when they're young, some are going to grow out of it, sure, but not enough. It is very true that saving some of these kids from surgery when they are minors is a big win. And one thing that must be, and it's a win that must be acknowledged. But becoming complacent and ignoring the bigger picture will only result in more suffering later. Matt is not being honest with his audience about that. And the most likely reason why Matt's not being honest with his audience about that is because he doesn't understand what I just explained to you. He doesn't understand that the monster he's fighting isn't the real monster. It's like a lieutenant. Matt thinks he's fighting the ultimate boss at the end of the video game. No, he's not. He doesn't even know where the ultimate boss is. He's fighting like a low-level crony. He might defeat that low-level crony, fine. But there are 37 other low-level cronies that are waiting for him. And if he defeats all those low-level cronies, then there'll be 37 more. Then there'll be 37 more after that. The low-level cronies would never stop because these are symptoms of the problem. They are not the root cause of the problem. If you don't root out what the root cause of the problem is, then you will never defeat the problem. So then Matt said, high school kids are pushing back against pride indoctrination in their schools. Well, yes, there was a small group of kids in a middle school in Burlington, Massachusetts that disrupted a pride event. Good for them. But guess what else is happening? It is also true that the community is about to come down on those kids like they have never been come down on before to send them the message that this will never be tolerated again. This is Burlington, Massachusetts. Burlington, Massachusetts is not going to tolerate what those kids did. I'm sorry to burst everyone's bubble. It was a stunt. Like, good for them. I'm always in favor of people using their voices to speak up. But if anyone thinks that those kids are going to get away with that and not feel the punishment and repercussions and possibly get put into a re-education gulag, I don't know what to tell you. This is from an article about it. To remedy the situation, Perchance said the school designated a meeting time during which students could express their concerns to administrators and created an anonymous form for students to report specific hateful incidents. She also said that the school would look into providing a program that would teach students tolerance, acceptance, and respect. So in response to this stunt, the school is going to give the students more diversity training. Really wrap your heads around that. They're going to force more indoctrination onto the students. Burlington Public Schools Superintendent Eric also responded to the incident. In a letter to parents, he denounced the student protest, writing that an increase in anti-LGBTQ+ violence in the country has no place in our schools. Like any Spirit Day celebration at MSMS, participation is optional. Respectful behavior across the entire student body, however, is non-negotiable. And then later in the article, Nyla, whose child is a student at the middle school, said her child struggled with their mental health before coming out of the closet a few years ago as a middle schooler. But that supportive parents, teachers, and students and librarians helped her child come out and thrive. Could you use this as a teachable moment to show the kids who counter-protested pride that they can take responsibility for their actions and become good allies? Those kids are going to re-education camp. We need to be honest about this. They may have stomped on a few pride stickers. They may have ripped down a few pride flags. Those kids are going straight to re-education camp, guys. Beth, oh my God, Beth. Beth, spoiling me as always. Thank you, Beth. The monster he is fighting isn't the real monster. That's a slap in the face to reality. That's exactly right, Beth. Queen Beth in the chat. Everyone bow down to Queen Beth, the perpetual queen of the chat. But that's right, guys. And this is why people need to actually focus on what the core of the problem is. If you don't understand what you're fighting, you're not going to defeat the monster. It is highly unlikely that what these kids did will be the start of any sort of movement that will spread across the 17,000 schools nationwide that have official policies saying the school can secretly transition kids without telling their parents. And even if it did start a movement, the policies capturing the kids' minds would still remain. People still haven't wrapped their head around the policy piece. It's the policy is the only thing that matters. Matt is not being honest about this. Rottweiler, thank you for the super chat. Walsh is leading the right into the your real action is the target's reaction when it's obvious that we have to make the Marxist left react and defend the indefensible to expose them, not just being reactionary ass goblins. Indeed, Rottweiler, indeed. Beth is absolutely my sugar mama, and I don't want anyone making her feel guilty about that. Beth, we love you anyway. We think you're great. Come on. Capitalism is the best. And then Matt said, we're gaining ground. We're winning. No, you're not. And I know it doesn't feel good to have this news delivered to you. I get it. I really do, guys. I know you don't want to hear this. And trust me when I tell you that it doesn't feel good for me to be able to clearly see all the ways in which conservative influencers are lying to their audiences to make money. But when you focus on the tactics that don't actually solve for the problem, there is no hope of winning. Guys, the reality is this. If Matt Walsh or any of the other influencers out there were actually doing the right thing, if they were actually teaching their audience what their audience needed to know, if they were actually attacking the root cause of the problem, I would have no issue with any of this. You will never, ever, 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 ever hear me shitting on an activist that is doing the right thing, regardless of if I like them or not. It makes no difference. Because if they're doing the right thing, they're doing the right thing. And I have a pretty clear record on this. It doesn't make me feel good to watch millions of people be deceived by these influencers who are quite literally only out to make money. It's infuriating. It's a slap in the face. It's a slap in the face to every single person that is killing themselves to do the right thing, to try to help people, to try to teach people, to try to show people exactly what they need to do. And then Matt Walsh, in a single fucking movie, wipes out all of it. And then I have people in my feed literally all day. I've been getting notifications this entire stream going, well, Caroline, he's raising awareness. He's raising awareness. Isn't Matt great? Matt is raising. Why are you shitting on him raising awareness? Because he's not raising awareness. He's not. I would bet money that all of the people who are saying Matt is raising awareness, I would bet you money that every single one of those people had no idea about half of the things that I taught you today, if not all of them. That's reality. This is like if you fix a broken window and you expect it to unclog your sink. You fixed something, but you didn't fix the correct problem. Not only is Matt not being honest with his audience about this, but his words asserting they are winning will do nothing but make his audience more complacent. Matt's audience doesn't know where this problem is coming from. Matt's audience doesn't understand the left or what their real goals are. Matt's audience doesn't understand the massive advantage the left has over them. Matt's audience believes they're actually winning. And the left is laughing. They're grateful to Matt for snowing his own audience for clicks and for money. Matt Walsh and people like his cohorts at the Daily Wire have convinced people that the woke left gets their way by protesting and posting cringe TikTok videos. All of this is a distraction, and it's one they all fall for. The woke left wins because they quietly implement policies that are rarely repealed that force people to move in the direction they want them to go. They don't make a big show of it. Usually, you don't even know what's happening until it's already done. The political right is distracted by the magician's assistant who is twirling around the stage in the sparkly low-cut dress while the magician is on the other side of the stage performing the magic trick while no one is watching because you're all distracted by the magician's assistant. In this case, the woke left is the cagey magician and Matt Walsh is the magician's assistant. The left loves Matt Walsh. The left needs Matt Walsh, because Matt Walsh is accomplishing something the left can't do without people like him. He is completely distracting their political enemies from the most important things the left is doing to maintain their power and their stranglehold over our society. Matt Walsh is quite literally the left's favorite useful idiot, the Pied Piper of conservatives, leading them all off a cliff. And if you disagree with me, you are more welcome to head over to the article and leave a comment and let me know why you disagree with me and present some receipts. But what I will tell you is that if you come into my comments and you're like, I just think you're wrong, the left is stupid, that's not going to work out well for you, I promise you. Does anyone have any questions? And I'll look to the chat now. Do you guys have any questions about this article? And the reason, by the way, that Matt Walsh is in a sparkle red dress is because he is quite literally the magician's assistant. If you have no questions, then we're gonna watch a socialism clip. Who wants to watch some socialism today? And the reason that we're gonna watch the socialism clip is because I want to give you some receipts. Because I promised you, when we got into this section about trans not meaning transition, it means transform, and the real goal is to make everyone non-binary, I want to provide you with some evidence of that. So let's get into this clip. This is a little montage that I made of a Socialism Saturday that I did 6 months ago. So I'm going to be in there doing commentary, but of course, my understanding of this topic has actually, it has increased exponentially since I recorded this. So, Autumn, stop fucking lying to people because this clip is going to disprove you. Stop fucking lying to my audience. Farron, question, when does the left want to have this plan implemented by? They don't have a timeline. It's perpetual. The battle is perpetual. The war is perpetual. It's never going to stop. They're never going to stop. They're never going to give up. It's always going to be the battle of inches. All right. Let's watch the clip. It'll be weird for me to watch myself. Good evening, comrades. Because, of course, on this Socialism Saturday, we're not comrades. I haven't watched this in a while. We're going to see comrades. We're comrades on my channel for Socialism Saturday. Welcome, guys, to the most dystopian thing that you will watch all week long. You know, part of the reason that Thank you, Stephen. I got into all of this stuff with the woke left and really wanted to understand all this nonsense is that I have been obsessed with all things dystopian throughout my entire life. Little did I realize that those crazy things that I would read about in like 1984 or Fahrenheit 451 or any of the, or Brave New World or any of those other books, little did I realize that those things are real and they are happening right in front of us in the real world right now. And Socialism Saturday is a time where we talk about it and we watch it. What does woke mean? Woke means authoritarian. Authoritarianism can exist on the left. Authoritarianism can exist on the right. My definition of woke is authoritarian. If you want to force your worldview onto someone else, then you are a woke authoritarian. And I don't care if you're on the left or the right or somewhere else. It doesn't really matter to me. You're still woke. Anyway, one of the things that I've discovered in terms of doing deep dives into all things dystopian, is that if you start watching real socialism content, like the real stuff, not CNN socialism, not AOC, not Bernie Sanders, the real deal, the farthest left of the far left, what you learn is that if you watch the real socialism from like 5 years ago, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Those are the talking points of the Democratic Party today. And so we watch Socialism Saturday because Socialism Saturday is a preview into everything we've got coming to us if we don't start turning this culture war around. These people are hang on. So you're going to hear that in this clip that we're going to watch, Farron, but no, trans does not mean transgender to the queer Marxist. Trans means transform or transcend. But it does not mean transgender, and it does not mean transition. Because they want to transform gender. They want to transcend the gender binary. Apologetic about their beliefs. They say it live on the internet for us to watch. And guess what, guys? And this is the thing that should really scare everyone. They're winning. The people we're going to watch tonight are winning. Dismissing these people as being crazy or lunatics who will never get their foot in the door, that would be a mistake. Because like I said, these people, the ones that we're going to watch, are but a couple years ahead of where the mainstream Democratic Party is today. This is real, and it is happening right in front of us. And all we need to do is look. All we need to do is sit back and watch and let them tell us their plans.
Maybe just to pull out one of those words, and
so,
I'm wearing this shirt that's like,
so this person and this person, the two on the left, those are the authors of Transgender Marxism, the book that Beth and Brooklyn and I are all reading right now, kind of struggling through it. These two are literally the authors of Transgender Marxism, and these are just two far left queer activists. Okay, so now let's listen to what they have to say. And if you've never been to a Socialism Saturday before, this might sound like it's like word salad, but bear with us. I will explain it.
Transsexual Menace, which for people who are watching this who don't know is an activist group started by Ricky Ann Wilkins. But I think that there's something like really good about thinking about like the about reintroducing this bodily dimension and thinking about how it relates to the how it figures in the production and reproduction of social particularity and difference that
I'm
is
in it now too, just I'm knitting both.
Furnishes capital with the tools for unequal for the ideological and legal and material unequal distribution of labor, of access to resources, of availability to being disposed of or incarcerated or
It just got really loud. So basically, are they basically saying, and I'm looking to the chat to confirm this because I think my brain went blank there for a second. Listen, I still get confused by socialism too. Are they basically saying that, are they basically making the argument to get rid of the gender binary because the gender binary reinforces inequality? Yes. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Like, if I was to sum it up, we have to get rid of the gender binary because the gender binary encourages the unequal distribution of resources, and that's why we have to get rid of gender entirely. And they're blaming capitalism for the gender binary because the gender binary not only reinforces capitalism, the gender binary was caused by capitalism to unevenly distribute resources. See, sometimes if I'm quiet for a while, I'm listening and I'm trying to process so I can translate. I think we got there. Ryan says, the weak-minded teaching the weak-minded, like how to brainwash the weak mind. Well, Ryan, again, like, you guys have got to stop underestimating these people. These people are winning. These people are winning. These people are driving the talking points of the people who have taken over every major institution in our society. And so I think it's fine, and I do understand what you're saying, but like, you really need to understand that these people are winning. Oh, the one on the bottom right has a PhD from Princeton.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Does that surprise
Holy
anyone?
shit.
No, it doesn't.
Shit. So this person has a PhD from Princeton. Do not send your kids to college, guys. I'm sorry. Do not send your kids to college, especially not an Ivy League school. If anyone takes this person's advice, they're going to lose, and they're going to lose resoundingly, and they will be losers their entire life because Jesus ain't coming to save you guys on this one. I'm sorry. You can pray to Jesus all you want. Jesus ain't coming to solve this problem. But this is the horrible advice that you get on the right. It's like, just pray. Jesus will save us. No, it's not how that's going to work. Surprise me at all. Not at all. Not in the least bit. Inequality as imposed by capitalism is bad. But remember, guys, and I just want to... Hang on. My needles fell out of my knitting. Hang on. But just remember... Emergency.
That the real goal of this is not to create a more fair and just society. The real goal of getting rid of the gender binary is to abolish the family. Because abolishing the family is one of the cardinal things that these people want to do, literally written about in the Communist Manifesto, in order to create their little Marxist utopia. These people never tell you what they're really trying to do, but you have to kind of read their stuff and read between the lines.
Reported or put in a box, right? And then also it discloses certain dimensions for, like, it discloses certain dimensions for our political and social lives that we can think about, like, how do I intervene in this? How do I act upon it? And so that, which is one of the reasons why I like the word transsexual. It's one of the things that I got, Jules, from your essay. So I'm glad that this thought is kind of proceeding, is converging, as you say.
See, this is a bad argument. This is the same argument the abortion people make, radical moderate. Why fight them? They're just sterilizing themselves. No, they're not. No, they're not. These people don't have need to have kids in order to perpetuate the ideology. They don't need kids at all. Why don't they need kids? Why is it not a problem to these people at all if they're sterilizing themselves and aborting their own children? Why? Because they've taken over the school. They've taken over the schools. They don't need their own children. They're taking your children. It makes no difference at all if these people are having kids. No difference at all. Because they have taken over the public school system. They have as many kids as they want, that they're teaching this stuff from the time they are 4 years old. Let that sink in. Radical moderate, you're not understanding what I'm saying. They don't need... Autumn, I am well aware that you have 2 accounts, and if you keep trying to get around the fact that I'm banning your accounts by getting a new account, I'm just going to ban all... I'm going to ban you outright. There is enough disruption in the chat. I am sick of it. I don't want to see it anymore. You don't need to be here. You have ceased to offer value to us a while ago. We are trying to learn right now, and you're being nothing but a distraction. No more. Need children of their own. They're taking yours. It is not true in any way that this ideology will sterilize itself out of existence. It is not true in any way. Because they own the public schools. They are teaching all the children this ideology from the time they are 4 years old, all the way up through elementary school, all the way up through middle school, all the way up through high school,
all the way through free college, all the way through every college except for a couple. They don't need their own children. They're taking yours. All teachers are these folks. Oh, hang on. Hang on. 1 second, guys. I don't know what's up. They've got some weird. This clip is a lot of me talking. I didn't realize I was talking so much when I selected this clip, but I promise you, they're going to say things that are really relevant at some point. I just don't know where it is because I didn't have a chance to watch it before right now. So please bear with me. But I am saying important things in this clip, and they have stood the test of time. So that's good. The only solution to the public schools is to shut down the public schools. Defund the public schools. That is the only solution that will change anything. Sound going on my phone, on my laptop. There we go. Sorry. I had another tab open that had like Ben Shapiro on it or something, and Ben Shapiro started talking in my ear. I was like, "What's going on?" I know you guys couldn't hear it, but I did. So Jay Slice says, even as a Democrat, I disagree with abolishing the family, but having a family isn't for everyone. Why are you putting a blanket on teachers? Not all teachers are these folks. Yes, all teachers are these folks. 90% of teachers come from the school of thought that these people come from, because this ideology is infused in the colleges of education. This is how new teachers are trained. Maybe not by these people, but they're trained by people who believe the same things these people believe. And they're taught in the colleges of education to teach that in the classroom. 90% of teachers. A lot of these people are useful idiots. They don't know what they're doing. This is what they've been taught by the people that they trust. But that is what they're doing. They may not realize it. They may not mean to, but that is what they're doing.
And then she's like, copies and pastes, and goes, right, but 20 years ago, she was writing the same thing about queer and being queer, and queer is this necessarily antagonistic relationship to capital. And that's just true. I mean,
wait.
Just people writing so much bullshit.
Queer has a necessary antagonistic relationship to capital. It puts queer studies in a whole new context when you hear communists say queer is antagonistic to capital. That's evidence that queer is and they say this overtly. Like this is the overt definition of queer theory, so I'm not making this up, but this is just evidence of the fact that like queer is not about your sexuality, it's not about how you show up in the world. Queer is about a political statement against normativity. Which is, of course, why they had to reclaim queer as a positive thing, right? Because queer used to be like an insult, and it's not anymore for these people, because queer is the opposite, is antagonistic. And when does anyone know when they reclaimed the word queer? When did that happen? In earnest. Anyone have any idea? What precipitating event happened to cause them to reclaim the word queer? Close, not quite. Close. You know, that's interesting, Farron. That I think was like a precursor to it. I absolutely think that. Absolutely a precursor. Ding, 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 ding. They really started pushing the Q after gay marriage was legalized. I'm not saying it wasn't there before. Farron just gave a great example. Queer eye for the straight guy. It was there before. But they really started pushing it after gay marriage got legalized because they needed a new problem. Capital.
Yeah, this idea where like simultaneously endogenous testosterone at least, is like the fuel of the revolution, but then it's also a party drug. He's got an interview where he's like, yeah, tea is the ultimate party drug.
Testosterone is a party drug. Did you guys know that? That's real. Tea is the ultimate party drug. They're literally taking it before they go out to the club. Let's just listen to that piece again in case anyone missed it. Antagonistic to capital.
Yeah, this idea where like simultaneously endogenous testosterone at least, is like the fuel of the revolution, but then it's also a party drug. He's got an interview where he's like, yeah, tea is the ultimate party drug.
What?
As if we're just going to dose up on it and go.
What? Are these people really comparing testosterone to ecstasy? Is that really what I just heard? Testosterone is the ultimate party drug? Wow. Okay, I'm sorry. I need to rewind that. I need to listen to that again. Wow. This is the type of information you find on Socialism Saturday, guys. I know we have to go through a lot of boring bits. We have to go through a lot of confusing bits. We have to go through a lot of times when we don't understand what the fuck these people are saying. And then we get to the point where they're like, testosterone is the ultimate party drug. I'm sorry, what?
I don't think either Al or myself had planned we're going to be like, oh, we're going to have this new collection about transgender Marxism, which is going to be all about how revolutionary trans politics can like replace feminism or come to terms. You know what I mean? That was not our plan.
That actually, I so appreciated that it was articulated in that way. Revolutionary trans politics is meant to replace feminism. Just really wrap your heads around that for a second. They intend the trans Marxism to replace third wave feminism. That's why they hate the TERFs so much, by the way. They're trying to eliminate women. They're trying to eliminate women. Let's just listen to that again.
Planning of previously kind of naturalized and elevated orders which feminist movements around the world achieved is clearly like preconditional with trans politics as we know it. However, also there's an obvious there's an obvious antagonism that exists as well, which I feel like actually got covered by transgender Marxism more than I'd conceived of. Like I don't think either Al or myself had planned we're going to be like, oh, we're going to have this new collection about transgender Marxism, which is going to be all about how revolutionary trans politics can like replace feminism or come to terms. You know what I mean? That was not our plan. But when we were doing the index is actually when we realized that like loads of chapters are like engaging in radical feminism on different levels and in different ways and making some pretty different arguments. But it's almost like the collection was unintentionally kind of shot through with this concern of responding to radical feminist critiques. And to talk about like why that is.
Wow.
I think, like,
I hadn't thought about it that way before.
Trans people of whatever gender position you end up.
Trans politics is meant to replace feminism.
Disproportionately spent time in feminist movements, or at least the trans people who are politically engaged. This is like disproportionately the kind of mode of political organizing we've come through. And I suppose to get into We Want It All, and We Want It All, that's really like completely unmistakable. Like it appears sort of like we've already talked about Amy Marvin's other one, The First Trans Poem, but there's this one, Hey Guys, which is like possibly my favorite and not coincidentally clearly like the bitchiest poem in the collection, which is kind of like
Hang on, I got a super chat from Rottweiler. Herbert Marcuse himself said the next proletariat would be racial and sexual minorities after acknowledging Marxism failed in the economic context. Well, yeah, because these are just the weapons they're using to cause their revolution. They don't care how they get there. It was never about solving racism. It was never about creating more fair and just society. It was only about eliciting their Marxist revolution. Exactly, Rottweiler. Thank you.
Very specifically skewering this kind of like NGO curious gentrifier sort of like the kind of like soft boy tender queer.
Hang on. Wait, Trendlin, hang on to your hats. Then answer me this. Why did they transition to women? They didn't. Every single one of them is non-binary. I'm pretty sure. This is where I had my aha moment. I'm pretty sure they're all non-binary. They don't have their pronouns in this. They're not women. They're non-binary. They don't believe in the gender binary. Well, the ones who have she pronouns also have they pronouns. So it's like this is why like people are doing this weird like he they or she they. They're non-binary. They're gender fluid. Because they want to eliminate the gender binary. Holy shit.
Different approaches through which trans radical thinkers have grasped said abolition. For instance, on the one hand, Jules echoed the anti-carceral struggle by pointing to the needs and focus the material conditions upon which gender division instead of prisons are built. Kay called for the abolition of gender abjection, I guess in the line of Rosemary Hennessy's point, but foresaw liberatory possibilities in maintaining gendered aesthetic pleasures and expressions. Othoe argues that gender can be abolished while preserving the rights and dignities of people to identify however they like, but while destroying its role in the organization of economic life.
She just said, she, I don't even know if that's a she, but do you hear that? Gender can be abolished. Let's just rewind a little bit. Gender can be abolished.
Pleasures and expressions. Othoe argues that gender can be abolished while preserving the rights and dignities of people to identify however they like, but while destroying its role in the organization of economic life. I myself have claimed previously that gender abolition implied the collective organization to overcome the material conditions that determine gender identities in the capitalist mode of production, thus socially immiserating the lives of gender-variant people and women. So, how do you think that trans liberation should approach said call for gender abolition and
gender abolition fundamentally means abolishing gender. I know this seems overly simplistic, but I want to make sure everyone understands this point. Everything like that, when you're listening to like socialism, you're going to hear the words abolition, liberation. You need to use those two interchangeably. They are liberating, when it comes to gender, they are liberating people from the gender binary. They are abolishing the gender binary in order to liberate people from the constraints of the gender binary, because capitalism exploits the gender binary to lead to an inequitable distribution of resources based on the gender binary. So when you hear gender abolition, they're just trying to get rid of gender. That's it. They want everyone to be non-binary. Why do they want to do that? Because they see destruction of the family as a key component of ushering in their Marxist utopia. You cannot have a traditional family structure if you have a gender binary. And when they abolish the family, that means that we are going to not have biological ties to people anymore. They want all children to be born via surrogacy, just like in Brave New World. Or in 1984, too. 1984 was trying to do this. They called it ArtSem. Do you guys remember how in 1984 they wanted to eliminate the orgasm? Women were refusing to have sex. It was literally called ArtSem. They were trying to make all people born via surrogacy. Because if you eliminate our biological ties to each other, who do we have to rely on but the state? Justin White, this is why they are masculinating women and feminizing men in movies and modern entertainment. I mean, I think that's part of it. I mean, I don't know that that's like all of it, but like I definitely think that they're yeah, exactly. They want the state to be everyone's god. The Giver, yep, they also did surrogacy in The Giver. Exactly. All of the things that the left are doing, all of the craziest shit that the left is doing, you always have to remind yourself that everything they are doing leads to Marx. Every single thing they do ultimately leads to Marx. You guys have got to read the Communist Manifesto. I know you don't want to. I know you think it's boring, but I promise you it is well worth it. It is a quick read. It is free on the internet. You don't even need to pay for it. Read the Communist Manifesto and then really, really internalize that every crazy thing you see the left doing leads to this. Every single thing is subjugated to this. Ironically, this didn't actually have the clip that I thought it had in it. I know that stream does, though. I need to go back and reclip that stream. That was really done before I was doing all these clips, but I need to go back and reclip that stream because they absolutely said in that stream that trans means to transform. I just don't know where the clip is off the top of my head. Stephen B. Somewhat. So what would society look like if they succeed? No feminine women, no masculine men. Who is going to build the roads? Cell phone towers, not these people. Well, Stephen, you seem to be under the impression that only masculine, manly men can build roads and cell phone towers, and that's just not true. If your biggest challenge to this is who's going to build the roads are going to get built. You don't need to. God fucking damn it, I hate conservatives. Like, you don't need to be a overtly masculine fucking Chad in order to build a road. And just because you get rid of the gender binary does not mean that you get rid of people with masculine attributes. This is not about... I can't... Oh my fucking God. It's things like this. It's like, can we have some goddamn perspective, please? Do you want to know who's going to build the roads? Whoever they assign to build the roads. This is a communist society. Whoever gets assigned to build the roads is going to build the roads, or they're not going to eat. Whoever gets assigned to build the cell phone towers, if cell phones still exist, if people are allowed to have them, is going to build the cell phone towers, or no one is or they aren't going to eat. it's not the fault of like average people that they have been lied to by their influencers and they have been grossly misinformed about what's going on. It is just so incredibly frustrating. It's so frustrating to be able to see it so clearly and to still have people focus on, but does that mean that people aren't going to wear dresses? And does that mean that we aren't going to have roads? And like, no, that's not what it means at all. It's just like, there are real problems in the world. And if people don't start interacting with what those real problems are, what those real problems are, then we're like, there is absolutely no hope of accomplishing anything productive. That's reality. If the thing that you're worried most about is what's going to happen to the Chads and the whatever, I don't know what the Stacys and the Chads, that's not the question you should be asking. Steven says, easy now. I'm old. This is a world I've never seen. Well, okay, you know what? Fair point, Steven. Fair point. And I'll try to be gentle. And like I said, I'm actually not frustrated at you. I'm really not. I'm frustrated at the people who have taught you incorrectly. Because the thing of it is like, the situation now with the conservative right is that so many people have been overtly misinformed about what is important and what is happening through no fault of your own, through the fault of the people that you consumed your content from, that it is now virtually impossible to unteach all of the false things that have been taught and to actually do anything productive at the same time. And so, for those of you who are on the political right, and I know that I have many viewers, even though I rag on you guys all the time, that are on the political right, I need your help because you are the ones that need to teach this to your friends and family. I can't teach this to your friends and family. You need to teach it to your friends and family. You are the ones that need to have conversations with them to say, this is not the real problem. The real problem is over here. You need to, like, I am giving you this information because I can't reach these people. They aren't going to listen to me because I'm too fat and I'm too ugly and my hair is too stupid and I'm too much of a leftist, even though I'm not a leftist at all. Like they're not going to listen to me, but they might listen to you. And if people don't start unlearning this stuff, these blatant falsehoods that have been taught, they're playing the left's game. William of Essex, who should a person support if you were looking to stop this? I'm not going to tell you who to support and who not to support, Support the people who are helping you. Support the people who are giving you the best information. Be discerning. Don't support any of the conservative activist groups. Do not give money to Moms for Liberty. Do not give money to Gays Against Groomers. Do not give money to any of these organizations that are taking advantage of a problem, that are not providing real solutions. You've got to be more discerning in who you get your information from and in what type of information you're internalizing. And you should fact check always. Don't trust me. Don't trust anything I tell you. Look at the receipts and decide for yourself what you think. Don't trust anything, any influencer or anyone with a YouTube channel or any of this. Don't trust any of them. Look at the receipts and judge what you think. Oh, yeah. Don't give money to Turning Point. Come on. Come on. Turning Point raised $40 million in 2022 and didn't impact the midterms at all. Failed to do their one job, which is turning out the youth vote. But Charlie Kirk got to fly around first class everywhere and be on all the shows and have his own shows and his own debate, and Charlie Kirk got to be a big celebrity. What does Turning Point even do besides YouTube videos? Well, they throw big parties. They throw really great parties. They throw amazing parties. I like for parent groups, I do like Parents Defending Ed. I think Parents Defending Ed does a good job. Parents Defending Ed is the organization that put that list together of all the schools that have the policies that are hiding your kid's gender from you. I also like No Left Turn in Education. I think that they do a good job. But most of these activist organizations don't. All right, guys, that is all I have for today. Thank you for spending some time with me. I do appreciate it. I have a workshop that I'm going to be teaching at 8 p.m. And then, of course, I will be heading over to Jennifer's book launch party. But if you want more information, guys, you can always subscribe to my Substack, Carlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com. And if you want to support the work I'm doing, because I am completely 100% grassroots funded, I am funded by people like you, please sign up for a Substack subscription for $5 a month, $50 a year. I purposefully do not take money from any organization or from any like rich donor or anything. It's not that I can, it's that I won't, because I don't want to be beholden to anyone. I want to be beholden to you. I want to be beholden to the public. I want to be beholden to telling you the truth and to showing you the receipts. And so that's why I keep things the way they are. So if you want to keep me in business, keep me doing this type of thing, please make sure you sign up for $5 a month, $50 a year, all that good stuff. Do I have a Telegram group? I do not have a Telegram, but you will get access to the supporter Discord if you support me on Substack, or you can support me on Locals. Locals is another place you can get in touch with me, or on Patreon. But I do not have a Telegram because Telegram is the bowels of the internet and I just can't do it. But I appreciate you asking. All right, guys, I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. for happy hour. I don't know what we're watching yet, but I'm going to find something good. Happy hour is when we watch a woke training from start to finish. We drink some beers, and God, do I need a beer. All right, guys, that's all I've got for right now. Take care. Have a good one. We'll see you.